All right. Welcome to podcast number 1. I am the host, Josh Bridges, and I'm alongside longtime pal. You might know him as Tim. I know him as Mason Flynn, a.k.a. Iron Throne. No, not Iron
You're
Throne.
killing it already, dude.
No, whatever. Trying to be funny, guy. It's never,
Somebody gets that joke out there.
Iron something.
Just Mason's fine.
Mason.
Or
we'll go with Mason.
I'll go with Tim too.
Mason, Tim. Tim was, if you don't know, Tim Mason is on the YouTube channel, and someone called him Tim in the comments, and we had no idea where it came from, and so it stuck. And so we stuck with Tim.
Getting famous from that these days.
Super famous, dude.
Yeah.
You were walking. What's the story? Happened 2 days ago.
Running the trails. I met another good dude out there shooting some guns. This guy Chris. He's like, "Oh shit, I know you." I'm like, "Yeah," but
how's that feel? How does it feel to be?
It's funny.
To be noticed.
My wife Molly was right behind me. And
got that plug in. He just called. Quick side note, Molly just called and said, you better plug my name on this podcast. So there it is, Molly.
There you go, babe. So she's like, oh my God, you're trying not to smile so bad right now.
Happy. I actually saw a guy at the games last year, 2019 CrossFit Games, and a guy came up to me and he goes, hey man, tell Tim I said what's up. And I was like, and I said, you just made Tim's day.
Yeah, it's cool.
It was good times. Cool. It's good times. Yeah. So for people who don't know, Mason's been working out over here since about late 2015.
Yeah.
Late 2015 is when we met.
Pretty much right after regionals that year.
Yeah. So we don't want to talk about regionals that year. That's the year it did not make the games, but thanks for bringing it up. But yeah, anyways, so Mason started coming over in 2015, met through a mutual friend, and been coming over ever since. He's a strong guy, and he runs a lot now. So, yeah.
Lift more, run for other.
That's right, man. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So tell the people a little about yourself, Mason. Tell them what you do.
Yeah.
Your background.
So I was active duty Navy for 5 years. I'm still in the reserves. I'm a helicopter air crewman. I go to school sometimes. I work out most of the time, and just got married 5 months ago. And that's about it. I'm from Connecticut.
Yeah, where are you from, man?
Yeah.
Connecticut? Okay.
Yep.
Right.
Wrestled in high school, played lacrosse.
Everyone knows wrestlers are the best.
Exactly.
Toughest dudes out there. No doubt about it. Yeah. Mason actually went on I actually got to visit Mason's house. Last year went on our dudes trip. And so me and my two boys, Jackson and Knox, we decided we're going to try to see every baseball stadium out there. Mason decided to come along on the ride, and we started up in the Northeast. And yeah, we got to visit the Flynn home, the household. It was a good time.
Yeah.
Met mom and dad, party.
A lot of lunch pails.
Yeah, exactly. The first time I met Mason, he came over and I was like, I just imagine your dad, a guy who had a lunch pail with a thermos full of coffee or soup or something, blue collar, hard worker.
Absolutely.
And he pretty much lived up to my every expectation I had.
Yeah.
So it was a good time. So this is our first one. I don't really know what we're going to talk about. We're probably just going to BS like we always do. Talk about life events, us.
We'll probably start to talk about something and then just end up on a tangent BSing about
exactly.
other things.
Yeah, right. Stuff will spark our interest, and we'll
try to keep it as PC as possible.
Piece of candy. Ooh, piece of candy. Ooh, piece of candy.
Yeah.
So yeah, this will be fun. I'm excited. Just got done with a couple hard workouts. Legs feel fresh. Mason is one of the kind of guys, when you go to program workouts, it's pretty much a terrible idea to listen to anything that comes out of his mouth, because what's going to happen is you're going to destroy yourself and probably not going to be able to work out for around 4 to 5 days.
You'll learn something about yourself.
You'll learn a lot about your thoughts, where your thoughts go.
Yeah.
So yeah, we do. We tend to do a lot of gut checks around here when Mason's here. Hundreds workouts are pretty standard operating procedure. So yeah, been a fun day so far. We did a workout where you had to acquire 100 bench press at 185, 20 peg boards, and then you started and every 3 minutes you had to do 12 echo bike calories. And every round, though, you had to add 2 calories. And so that was a really fun workout. And then we went into some sled push, power clean intervals, back and forth, 1-to-1.
So that first workout was actually a repeat.
Yes.
So
that's right.
What happened last time?
The first time we did that, the first time was we both DNF'd. And so what happened was neither of us finished the work required. And if you ever don't get off the bike or you don't reach your number of calories that you're supposed to do in those 3 minutes, your workout's over. And so we both hit the 36th minute, or I think it was 36th minute, which was 36 calories for those 3 minutes, and we did not.
Which doesn't sound like a lot.
Which does not, right? When you
but
say
it is,
it's a lot. It's so, and that's around the 320th calorie or something like that.
It might have been 40 calories in or something like that. You'd have to do the math because I don't know what round it was, but
either way, I think I had 7 bench press left, and he had like 7 pegboards or something like that. Yep. So, but that was a nasty workout. Yeah. It's good times.
So dial it down a notch this time.
Yes.
So next time.
We got smarter. We learned from our workout. And so we started at 12 calories and added 2. Instead of the first time, we started at 16 calories and adding 2 each round. So this time we had the first few rounds, we got a little bit deeper into, got some more money in the bank, I guess you could say, with our bench press and pegboards. So that was fun.
I mean, that might be a good thing to talk about right there, like over programming versus under programming a workout.
Yeah, that's a great topic.
You know?
Hey, great topic.
Yeah, I'm here for a reason.
over programming, under programming, right? So I like to say I'd rather always push myself to a point where I learn something. Maybe I don't complete the task instead of under programming and finishing and being like, man, I wish I would have done more or pushed harder. Definitely something always to think about when you're programming workouts for yourself. If you're not pushing yourself, if you're not finding your limitations, really what kind of are you growing? And I don't think you should always push and start to where you maybe start to have negative thoughts or get a little overtrained. I don't really like to use the word overtrained because I think people take overtrained and run with it a little bit, where your body can definitely push a little harder than you think it can. But you definitely can start to push limits and start to injure yourself if you're not smart about it. So, but when I tend to make gut checks, like when me and Mason are working out, we always steer towards a little overtrained, over-programmed than under-programmed. So definitely something to think about when you're programming workouts. And that goes for like all workouts. It doesn't have to be just gut checks. That can be every minute on the minutes. That can be AMRAPs, as many rounds as possible. Anything like that. Like test yourself, right? Push yourself. If you come up just slightly short, but you had a huge goal in mind, you still went pretty far, right? You still reached a good number, and you learned a lot about whatever movement or rep scheme that you were pushing for. So definitely something to think about. What about you? What say you, Mason?
Yeah, no, I think that's all great advice. I think that maybe sometimes if you do happen to underprogram it and you can see that you're either going to finish way faster than you thought, or it just like wasn't as hard as you thought, well, tack on another workout or tack on another round like in the middle of it. That always seems to help out. You could always do more. As far as like today's workout, last time it was over programmed, but there was an end to it. So it's not like you're just gonna, I remember one time we did a 12 days workout and we got to like an hour and a half in and we still had like round 11 and 12. And for everyone that's done a 12 days workout, around 11 and 12 are like, God, they could be another half hour each round, So at some times when you really are biting off more than you could chew, you're like, okay, this is getting dumb now. Where like it's borderline dangerous. And you're like, I don't want to be here for 3 hours doing this. So sometimes it is good to cut it. And then, in the middle of it, be like, okay, I time cap myself at an hour and a half. Still a good workout, It's also good when stuff like that happens to remember for next time, like you said with imams and stuff, like have a good idea of how many power cleans at 135 you can do in a minute. Or at whatever weight or it is, and that way it's harder to overprogram or underprogram when you know yourself.
Yeah, for sure. It's great.
Yeah.
It's great. It's definitely a good way to learn yourself as an athlete and who you are. And all that knowledge you take into if you are doing competitions or whatever it is, or if you have goals, right? Then you can progress. Write your workouts down. That's a huge thing for me. Like I've written every single workout I've done since probably 2007 or 8. I have them all logged somewhere, whether it be in a notebook, a phone app, something like that. So that's a great piece of advice that if you're not logging that stuff, like then it's definitely stuff you'll forget. You'll tend to forget, and so then you can't go back and check on it and look at it. So definitely log your workouts for sure.
Yeah. So along with that too, when you log it, you see what time it took, right? And that even goes back to the over or under programming. You write something down, you're like 3 rounds for time in your head, and you could talk about this smarter than I could, but you're like, I want this to be around this much time.
Right.
So if you look back a year ago and you're like, and you see that workout and you're like, that should not have been a 30-minute workout, you know?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, the more data you have on yourself, the better athlete you're going to become. That's just facts. That's just going back years and years and years with athletics, anything like that. So yeah. Figure out who you are as an athlete. There it is.
There it is. Remember it.
Learn from it. Grow from it. You didn't fail. You figured something out about yourself. That's all. COVID-19. What a world we are living in right now. This is absolutely insane. This is crazy. I don't even know how to describe it.
That's how we get the time to do this.
Actually. Yeah, right. We finally, we've been talking about doing podcasts for I don't know how long.
You probably got this equipment a year ago.
At least a year ago, if not longer. It could be 2. But so we finally pulled the trigger on this due to this crazy time that we are living in right now. My kids actually just started distance learning today, which that's a crazy topic. My kids are not mandated. They're not, none of the work is mandatory. I got that email on Friday. I thought that was crazy. So they're going to move on to the next grade. And
no matter what,
they don't have to turn any work in. Nothing is mandatory. They actually said in the email, it's up to you if you want to tell your kids this, if you want to tell them that.
That's good.
Right?
That's good. Yeah.
But I understood it. And I thought it was just a crazy thing because exactly how can schools put this mandate on kids and say, hey, you have to teach yourself.
I wonder if there's age requirements for that though.
Yeah, I don't know. Because I don't think, and not all schools are like that because Heather's kids are not like that, right?
But they're also a lot older.
So Heather is my girlfriend in case, well, they're not a lot older. Jillian is only a year older than Jackson. But Heather's my girlfriend. And so her kids, their school is mandatory and they are getting graded and they're getting graded on things.
In Ohio.
Yeah. But it's very different. It's just crazy to think that what they're putting on these parents, and not every kid has access to the internet or their parents are not able to spend time with them and do this schoolwork because some people are still working in this crazy time. So I don't know how you do make it mandatory.
Yeah.
So it was a refreshing thing to see. And it was just kind of mind blowing that I was like, oh, wow. Okay. It isn't mandatory. So it's a little less stressful, which is nice, but it's just crazy. It's crazy to think about that my kids are literally didn't finish 4th and 2nd grade.
What month is it? It's
April.
So about
basically
2/3 maybe?
Basically about half a quarter they're not going to get graded on.
Yeah, because they go to June.
Yeah, late
So
May.
3 months?
Right, yeah. It's nuts, man. Nuts.
Yeah.
Could you imagine being a senior in high school and being like, hey,
that's crazy.
You don't have to do the rest of your schoolwork. You're good.
Well, by the time I was a senior in high school, I wasn't doing shit anyway. So I was like, I'm going in the Navy.
I think it's crazy that there wasn't something in place for something like this to happen. Like that, like how reactive they're being. It's such a reactive way to I feel like
as far as the school system,
yeah, the school system didn't have something in place for something like this to happen. Like, what about if a power outage happened and school didn't have power for a month? do they have
I
some sort of contingency plan?
You wonder what like Katrina did.
Yeah,
or places like that.
How wasn't there? I mean, I understand that. Yeah, maybe it's not for a virus. Like no one was thinking, but how wasn't there a contingency if we couldn't go to school for a month or two? Like I can't believe that there wasn't something like that already out there.
Maybe this was it.
Yeah, but yeah, maybe it was. I don't know. I don't know if it's. I felt like there could have been. What was crazy is so my kids had 2 weeks of spring break, a week of half days that they missed. So they really hadn't missed too much school in a 3-week period, right? They missed like basically 2.5 days of school. And then on the second week of spring break, we got an email saying, hey, we need another week to prepare for this. And that I was kind of a little mind blown by that.
So that was like late or mid-April?
That was like, the first week of April.
Okay.
And so now they needed another week to prepare for this distance learning. And I'm like, okay, whatever. It is what it is. Like, it's not a big deal. Like they're in 2nd and 4th grade. I'm happy to work with them and help them learn whatever they need to learn.
I'm like trying to think of what I learned in 4th grade.
Right. And so it's a crazy, crazy thing. I was blown away that how reactive they're acting and not prepared for something like this.
Yeah. I feel like the big stuff back then, and this is from a 33-year-old guy with, I got a niece and nephew, but I'm pretty detached from children's.
Now I brought up the parenting because I know you have a lot to say about it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. What's something to talk about? I got a lot to say about most things though. So
Sure do.
Yeah, right.
Sure do.
A lot of really good input,
Yes.
But what do you learn that's big? So probably some mathematics and some English, like reading and writing.
Yeah, you're building foundations, right?
Yeah.
You're building basics.
Yeah. And you could pretty much teach them whatever history you want.
Right. Obviously. We all know this. I am a history buff.
Yep.
It goes hand in hand with being in the military.
You'd start reading off some of these books you got in the corner over here.
Right. You got Jocko. We got a Jocko book over there.
Jocko makes children's books. He's got
I know.
at least one.
I got 2 of them, I think.
Is it 2?
I think he's got 2 or 3 out.
Mikey and something?
Mikey and the Dragon.
Mikey and the Dragon.
And then there's another one too.
Extreme Ownership? Is that
that sounds like a
children's book?
I think it's a children's book. But yeah, I know I have actually.
Can't do your homework? Good.
Can't go to school? Good.
More time to train.
More time to get after it. Jocko, what a fun topic. I actually worked with Jocko. I was under him technically on my first deployment in 2008. He was the troop commander of the troop that I met out in Iraq. I didn't see him at that point. I never saw him because we were way out west in Iraq. But then when I came back from that deployment, he became the commanding officer of TRADET, which is the training detachment. And so I actually got to go through a workup under Jocko, and Jocko's amazing. Jocko is exactly who he portrays himself to be. Like there is, I think obviously everyone knows, like if you don't know who Jocko is, go check him out. Jocko Willink. He has a podcast. He's been on Joe Rogan's podcast. He's been on tons of podcasts.
He's on like Fox News and stuff.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
then.
The guy's, he's awesome. Jocko's the man. And a lot of people ask me, being a former Navy SEAL, that what do you think about people who come out with books and, former Navy SEALs who come out and like go into
Right.
whatever the light,
Yeah, there's a joke. It's a prerequisite that you go through an English course at the end of buds nowadays. There's creative writing.
and you know what? Like I think it all depends on what those people are talking about. I think that if you're trying to like portray yourself as some sort of hero of some sort or whatever, then I think it's, whatever. You built your resume. You went and did whatever you did. You deserve whatever you want to do. But I think for a guy like Jocko, I think the information that he's putting out to people is so amazing and so great that it can correlate to the real world.
Seems to like simplify it.
Yeah,
almost.
exactly. Like he takes the lessons that he learned as being in the Navy for however many years he was, probably I'm going to guess 20 plus.
Yeah, at least
20
if he
plus.
retired from it.
Right. And so because he was also enlisted and then went officer.
Yeah.
And so like how he's putting it out, he's basically just teaching people, how to go out and take ownership of who they are and where they're at in their life and it's just amazing information, and it's such good information. And I was blown away when I first saw him do that. When I saw him have a podcast, and I saw him have an Instagram, I was like, wow, like looking at him as a person, I would never think like he would be that kind of guy.
Right.
But then you see the information he's putting out, and it's just like, man, this is awesome. Like awesome information. And he is. People always ask about buds and like how hard was buds? You know, they always want to say
such a tip of the iceberg, though.
Yeah, and exactly. And I always tell people, yeah, buds was tough, and it is physically, mentally, it's tough. It's a tough grind. But Jocko's workup, when you're in a team, like it was some of the most insane stuff we've ever did, and it was 10 times harder than anything we ever did in buds. And Jocko was just like the no fucking slack line. I love that line. Jocko is just like, instructors will come over to the people who worked for Jocko at the training detachment, who are basically our instructors, would go over. If you haven't heard what he says, he basically would go over and be like, hey, Jocko, I think these guys have had enough, and I think it's good. He's like, no fucking, I'm not cutting him any fucking slack. And why he said it was so that, if you bleed and the more you sweat in training, the less you bleed in war. Yeah. So, I mean, it was for a great reason, because he was also part of some pretty crazy troops that went overseas and they suffered a few losses. And so he knew what it was like, right, to suffer those losses. So such a cool thing, such an awesome thing that he's out there, and he's putting himself out there, and he's helping so many people just be better. So
yeah, that's what it is. It's be better. That whole discipline equals freedom. Like, it's such a simple.
Exactly.
It's such a simple line that means so much.
It's like anything. People think there's these like magic pills, these magic solutions of everything. When it breaks down to is such simple things. Like, especially like how I can correlate it is to being an athlete, right? Like people want the magic pills. Like, oh, what's the secret to what you're doing to make you so good? It's not a secret. It's very simple. You're disciplined, you work hard, and you prioritize what you want to do, right? Yep. I need to eat healthy so I can recover, so I can train harder. I mean, it's simple. It's all simple stuff. And it's awesome that that's kind of what he's doing for people. I think he's breaking it down and showing them and correlating it to being in the office, being a parent, being whatever it is that you are. So
yeah, I got a buddy. He probably got out of the Navy. It must have been 8 years ago now, and he was pretty overweight. And then I saw him again later on, and he got like huge into Jocko, and then he got like pretty big into keto and all into CrossFit type training, And yeah, I saw the guy, and he probably lost like 40 pounds, and he's like all into Jocko, like, and then sometimes he actually got to the point, he's just like, sometimes I just need a break from it though. He's like, because he's just so fucking intense all the time. I'm like, yeah man. I mean, can't go, 100 miles an hour all day,
My one Jocko story that I have, and then I'll go on to other topics. I don't want to sit here and talk about Jocko the whole time, even though I love the guy. So first workup. So we are doing a training block called Cold Hits. Cold Hits is where basically you get a mission. You don't have any time to plan. You just have to go hit the target, do it, and then come back. You debrief it, and then basically for 3 days straight, you're doing cold hits over and over and over again, getting very little rest.
So what do you think from when you get? And we'll try to keep this not military talk as much as possible.
Yeah.
So when you get the call to when you leave to go to do your mission.
So basically, you would get the call.
How much time?
You get you get briefed on where your target is, what you're doing, and you literally have like 45 minutes.
Okay,
like quick, like very quick turnaround. To come up with a quick, plan. Basically, almost like you are a reactionary force, right? Like a QRF, there it is. Quick reaction force. And so we hit these targets, we're out, we come back, we debrief, do it probably 3 times that day. That night we had another one, and only 5 of us had to go on it, and I was one of them. And there was
Lucky.
I know, right? I got hooked up, and so but I was a new guy, and so when you're a new guy, you're gonna get those kind of deals.
Yep.
And so whatever it is, what it is. It was an all-night, overnight Overwatch mission, whatever. So out all night watching a target, basically, and then come back in the morning, and boom. Everyone back in now. So now we're like right into more cold hits the next day. So
Solid.
like no break. Like I, got maybe like very little sleep that night. I don't know how much. Not gonna. Anyways, got very little sleep. Go into it. Come back. Boom. Here's your next target. All right, we're going again. And then that night, I remember. So Jocko finally shows up, and he shows up for one of the debriefs. And we had this room full of these big like leather chairs. And it was kind of hot. I think it was a hot time of the year, right? So I sit down in this big leather chair, and I'm literally, it couldn't have been 3 seconds.
You're
and
just out cold.
I'm out cold. And I remember waking up and literally Jocko is over me, like face maybe 6 inches away from my face. And my eyes just, like cartoon explode up. And I'm like, very intimidating guy Jocko is. And he's like, "Oh, good, you're awake. We can begin now." And I was just like, I like shut up. And, it was hilarious. Not at the time, it wasn't very funny, but looking back on it now, it was great. That's my my good Jocko story. So, as a new guy, you definitely never wanted to get called out.
You got the commander of the unit,
right? Yeah, like the commanding officer of the training detachment, looking at you, being like, "Oh, you're awake. Good."
Right.
It was amazing.
He's got like his Medal of Honor, like hitting you in the face. Right. Oh, sorry, sir.
I'm so sorry. Yeah. So everyone's like looking at me, obviously in the whole room, because obviously they had some point when I was sleeping where they were talking about
your shop chief's just shaking his head like this fucking turd.
I probably snored.
Yeah, right.
That's why they even like saw me that I was sleeping. So yeah, it was that was a good time.
Yeah.
We'll move on from Jocko.
Yeah.
Great subject though. I'm sure it'll come up a lot, pretty often in these podcasts.
Probably.
So, but yeah, what else?
Sports, man.
Sports.
Lack thereof.
There are no sports right now.
Yeah.
It is so depressing.
They talked about having the MLB season in Arizona.
Yeah. They were talking about doing a whole like quarantine baseball season in Arizona. And I don't really know where it's gone. I haven't heard anything about it.
Right next to Fight Island.
Yeah, right.
UFC. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
They got a baseball mountain.
Right. It's right next to UFC 249, right?
Yeah, right.
As
soon as Khabib fights Ferguson.
Jeez, that fight. Holy cow. 5 fights, 5 times it's been scheduled, never happened. No, I know. I agree that with sports, I watch any sport. And so the fact that there's no sports is just so depressing. My kids' sports aren't even playing.
There's no sports and you have to stay home all the time.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like the best time to watch sports.
Yeah.
So
how many times did people watch The Office?
What I thought was interesting was the fact that they shut down UFC.
Yep.
But they allowed WrestleMania to happen.
Well, yeah, but WrestleMania, it was the same type of thing though.
Yeah.
Right? It was
going to be the same thing. UFC was going to be just no fans.
Yeah, but Disney, who owns ESPN and the rest of the world, is the one that shut down. I'm pretty sure, at least, that was like, no, we're not doing the UFC.
Right.
But WrestleMania, I don't think is owned by them.
I think it is. I think WrestleMania. I think WWE is owned by Disney. I'll have to look it up.
Look it up.
Yeah, we can fact check it.
Yep.
But either way, it's pretty crazy. Yeah. Okay. So Disney. I guess Disney maybe shut down. Either way.
Well, it was also several weeks after, like 2 or 3 weeks after.
WrestleMania just happened.
Yeah, but UFC is supposed to be this weekend.
Right.
So that's 2 weeks later.
Yeah. Still, I don't know.
Yeah, there's another like 250,000
I don't
people.
get it. I think that if they've been tested, like why not? I mean, I guess the medical issue is really what it's coming down to, right? Like you don't want to.
Looks like Disney does not own it.
Oh, okay. Well, there it is. That's why then. And I get the medical issue, right? Like if you have fighters going into these facilities where they need medical, attention. Now they're putting themselves at risk as well because they're going to a facility that probably has people who are, in quarantine, and
it's just people moving, man.
Right.
And they're trying to keep everyone staying in one place.
Right.
That's what it is.
I'm just upset. I wanted to watch fighting.
Everyone wanted to watch.
Everyone wanted. I think it would have been crazy to see the pay-per-view buys for that, for sure.
It would have been. Yeah, because they're doing it, and they were going to do it in Northern California, right, or Central or something at an
Indian reservation.
Yeah,
or something.
but I guess that Indian reservation was like really good about everything. So Dana White said that they're going to do an event there for sure.
Oh, cool.
To like give back to those guys.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
that's good. That'd be good. Yeah, the Olympics getting pushed back, all the winners. I feel really bad for the NCAA athletes who didn't get to, have their championships as well. I think it's crazy. I think the NCAA is absurd. I think that they are ridiculous that they're not allowing seniors who didn't get to play for a national championship, either in whatever sport it was, in the winter sport, and not getting another year of eligibility, but they're giving the summer sports another year, or
really
spring sports. I'm sorry. Yeah. Spring sports, another year of eligibility. So I think it's kind of crazy. I think it's a scam.
It's like the best part of their season.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like people work years for that and they just got canceled. And I understand like there are things that are more important than sports and health, right? People being healthy is one of them, but I don't know how the NCAA can be like, oh yeah, we would, and I get it. They're only allotted so much money for these scholarships.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they couldn't take.
But right, exactly, right.
Yeah.
You couldn't change the money.
Well, those coaches are taking like 7 figures home,
right, exactly,
8 figures a year.
But whatever, the NCAA is what it is. It's never going to change. I hate the fact that I love college football more than I like pro football, but because of how my distaste for the NCAA, because I just think they give kids an education, but college is a business just like anything else.
Yeah, it's weird how they can have so many rules for those. I mean, they're adults, they're over 18. Yeah, it's like
they were shutting down GoFundMe's for like I'm sorry, not GoFundMe's, but like Trevor Lawrence, the quarterback for Clemson, had a charity thing going. Him and his girlfriend had a charity thing.
Nope.
Yeah, no, that's accepting money.
Are we getting any of that?
Yeah, right.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now you don't get to use your name until you leave college.
Yeah, until we've rode you hard.
Yeah, right.
And you go off to the glue factory. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
It's just really interesting.
Yeah.
So one thing about Mason, if you don't know, he is an avid power lifter. That's where he came from, his background.
Yep. Avid.
Give us your stats, dude. What do you pull? I know
I pulled 717.
Big deal.
At my house the other day.
Count it.
But I count that.
Yeah, right.
Which actually will bring me into my next topic. But
right.
I'm working to get a 600-pound squat. I'm pretty close. And then bench, I'm just kind of keeping around 400. I'm not as concerned about that. But
do you think that you will compete in any more powerlifting competitions?
Yeah, I think eventually. But so last year I did the 50K run and I squatted 500. So this year I'm like, well, what if I do 600 and a 60K? And then that kind of got the wheels turning. And I'm like, I wonder how heavy I could go and how far I could go.
Right.
Because it's just another, just another 10 kilometers a year.
Yeah.
Is just another 6 miles.
That's all it is.
And another 100 pounds.
Nothing. That's what I do to my deadlift. I just add hundreds of pounds to it.
Well,
every week, every year. I'm sorry.
Well, the squat I'm working on.
Oh yeah, right. Squat.
Yeah.
So when you do that, are you doing it same day?
I thought about it. I thought like a week before I did my 50K, I was like, you know what? I'm going to get up in the morning and I'm going to squat 500 pounds and then I'm going to go and run the 50K. And I ended up getting a pretty bad cold like that week. And my buddy's like, you really should not do that. I'm like, all right, fine. And then I probably was about maybe 13 miles in and I'm like, fuck it. I'm going to squat it when I get home. I'll do it afterwards.
Yeah. That's even better.
Yeah. And then around 14 miles in, I was like, I'm not going to do that. But I probably did it in the same. I PR'd my deadlift, I think that week or something like that. Or it was the same week I did a marathon or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean,
crazy. So yeah, you can follow.
Yeah.
So Mason does the strength program for my programming on my website at josh-bridges.com. So if you want to follow what this guy does for strength, you can definitely see it there. And if you want to get in contact with him about his running protocol, you can check that out too. I mean, it's pretty crazy that he's doing this. What the numbers that he's doing with the amount of running that he's doing, it's really cool to see. Because when I first met him, he didn't do any of that. You're right. He was just
no running. At least.
Yeah, right,
Yeah,
exactly.
right.
And so something that I've always thought would be cool would be to run a sub 5 minute mile and run squat 500 pounds.
Yeah.
And I'd want to do it. I feel like same day.
Oh yeah.
I think that would be.
I mean, even
pretty
not
crazy. I know that. Yeah. There's been some CrossFit athletes who have. I think that could be close. I think like Scott Panchak could be up there.
Yeah.
I know because I know he definitely squats 500, and I don't know what his mile time is. But then I know Tommy Hackenbrook has talked about it. He's a big, strong dude.
So another really cool test, actually, because I had posted something like that, and then somebody had DM'd me on Instagram, and they said, try to take your mile time in seconds and minus your deadlift in kilograms and see if you can get a negative number.
You already lost me.
Yeah, right. So, well, you would do, all right, so say you ran a 6 minute mile. Right?
So 600, or not 600, that would be.
So that's 60 times 6. So that's 360. Right? So a 360 kilogram deadlift. So 360 times 2.2. That's a 792 deadlift. Right?
It's okay.
Which is ridiculous.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
But I mean, but you see the numbers there. So I mean, you figure you do a 530 mile, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that would be 60 times 5 is 300 plus 30. So that's 330 pounds or 330 kilograms. Right?
Yeah, those are crazy. Those deadlift numbers are crazy.
Yeah, but I mean, so that's 726. So I mean, it's a doable feat.
Yeah.
But
I think so you started with 6 minute miles and then you went to 530. What you're forgetting is how hard removing 30 seconds from your mile time really is.
No, absolutely.
No, just go run a 530 mile instead.
Yeah. But I mean, you get some, I bet you there's somebody out there that can do that or pretty close to it.
Yeah, probably for sure.
I think I could run a pretty low 6 minute.
Right.
With a good tailwind.
What do you run when you're running those distances? Because you go out and run for 20 miles, right?
Yeah.
Typically.
Sometimes.
What's your average when you're going out and running?
It's really hard, man, because when you're doing trails, you got to look at elevation gain versus mileage. Right. So my ideal is for every 5 miles I do, I like to get 1,000 feet of elevation gain.
Okay.
And if I can get that in an hour, then I'm running a good pace for me.
Yeah.
And I think that's like 11 something.
Okay.
Yeah. 11:30 or something.
I mean, when you're running that kind of elevation, you're definitely it's gonna be, you'll be jogging. And if you can continue to run the whole time is even impressive.
I mean, I did 10 miles on the beach not too long ago, and I held a 8:17.
What's your fastest mile ever? Do you know? No idea?
No, not really.
Really? I know.
Yeah.
5:12. Boom.
I mean, in high school, I did a 6:16.
There you go.
Yeah,
there it is. Mark it.
That's the only
Chalk
number
it up.
I could think of. Yeah.
There's your PR right there.
And I'm pretty sure it was in a gymnasium, and I did about
you probably
8 laps.
What do you weigh? 215? You probably weighed 175 then?
Yeah, I wrestled at 170 in senior year.
I didn't even know. And look at that. I called it.
It's
not a big deal. When you're a wrestler, you just know weights.
Yeah.
Yep.
You wrestled 152, didn't you?
No, I did not.
Not you.
No. My senior year of high school, I wrestled 130, and then at college, I wrestled only because I didn't want to cut at all. I wrestled 141, but I should have probably been at 33s.
Right.
So, yeah.
So some other things that we're talking about, and we're waiting to talk about it on this was, I don't know if you guys follow Strongman, but you guys, the mountain is.
Never heard of him.
It is.
Thor.
Yeah, Thor.
Got
and
Thor.
actually, this would be an interesting perspective from professional athlete's point of view. So Thor is trying to break the deadlift record, right? So Eddie Hall hit it, I think, in 2016 at 500 kilograms, right?
Yep.
At a competition. Now with everything going on, Thor was supposed to do it at some competition coming up in like Europe or something like that, right? But obviously he can't do it.
Right.
So he's doing it at his training facility in Iceland.
Right.
And there's like a official referee there, but they're calling it a world record if he hits it.
Okay.
So
what do you
think?
What do I think?
Yeah.
I think it's tough not to call it a world record, right? Because it's happening. But the hard part is like who else has done it in a training scenario that wasn't allowed to be.
So you said that. So training scenario.
Right.
Yeah.
And so is it a training scenario? I don't know. Like,
is it?
Could they just sanction it, and be like, this is a sanctioned event?
That's essentially what they're doing.
Yeah.
But like,
is other people going to be there?
I mean, no one's flying in. There's some other like guys from Iceland there that are trying some other stuff.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
But so it's not really an event. He's just going to deadlift it.
I mean, for lack of having less or more information, it seems like if you did it in your garage.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be like me out here doing it. I mean, that's, and what people like will call us training PRs, right? Or training world records.
Yeah.
And so is it going in the record books? I don't know.
The thing that sucks about that too, man, is I would imagine that like the guy's probably doing like some like periodization training to hit it. And I bet you a year ago, he's like, I'm going to hit this next, what is it? April, yeah. He's like, I'm going to hit this next April.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then a month ago, all this stuff goes down. It's just like,
I mean, think about the Olympic athletes.
Yeah.
That's another exact same thing, right? I mean, all these Olympic athletes, they didn't even train for a year. They trained for 4 years to do this. It's nuts. It's absolutely insane that they took, all those people had this exact programming out for, these events, and they wanted to peak at the exact right time, and boom, nope, you got another year.
Or
so now you had to adjust it.
Are they going to do better?
Exactly. Yeah, we don't
That'd
know.
That'd be a bet right there. So like take the average amount of
we don't know
records.
Oh, you mean like if they break them?
Well,
like because they got a fifth year?
Like on average, do you think this next Olympics, that you're going to see a better performance or a worse performance because of the time?
I think you're going to see worse.
I would think that.
I think you're going to see worse because people are going to be a little more beat down.
They got that last cortisone shot about a month ago.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Like, it's going to wear
out. Exactly. Like think about the guys who are on their last leg going into the Olympics, and
literally,
you got another year now. Now you're a year older. I'm sure it's good for some people, and it's probably worse for other people.
Yeah.
So, I in my mind, I would think they would do worse because they have another year of training. And
well, like
beating them down a little bit.
mean, like if you're like an 18-year-old swimmer, just a stud, you're and like a sport that's not. Well, I mean, I haven't swam for a long time, but I did when I was a kid competitively. But like, that's not like really prone to injury. You know, like those guys might do better.
Yeah,
but then it might take it off the tail end of their career too. It'll
be interesting to see what the following. I wonder what they're going to do with the following Olympics. If they're going to
2024s.
Yeah, if they're going to actually, if they're going to delay that,
I bet they won't.
Or they'll come back.
I bet they won't.
Yeah, they'll just do a 3 year.
I think that's supposed to be in LA.
Oh, really?
I think it is, man.
That's crazy.
One of them is, but no one wants to hold the Olympics anymore.
Right. I mean, I don't think that they make that much money off of it.
Yeah. I saw like a Vox thing on it, and they're saying that like the amount of cities that even like apply for it, like 20 years ago, that it was like 20 cities. And nowadays it's like, there's like 3.
Crazy.
It's like Beijing. And
I love the Olympics too.
About it.
The Olympics it's so much fun to watch. Like anytime you're competing for your country, I love it. And I'll watch it. I don't care what sport it is. Like, you get to compete. You get to wear your country's flag on your back. Like, man, that's cool. And I think it's fun. And so,
Paris,
yeah.
Sorry, yeah.
Okay. So I'm excited for the Olympics. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out with this year. I mean, with all this, hopefully everything's back to normal, and we're back to playing sports and everything like that. I hope all the seasons get to come back. I hope basketball gets to come back and finish this season's basketball. I'm not a huge basketball fan, but. Man, NBA this year, crazy. Like the amount of teams that are in the mix where it's not this, it has like, for a little while, it's been Golden State Warriors. So, and the Cavaliers or whoever, or whatever team LeBron James has been on.
Right.
So,
but now, like, with Kobe, with that stuff that happened, that tragedy, and then that the Lakers were probably fired up.
Oh yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, and the Lakers this year are crushing it.
Yeah,
and then you have the Clippers who are in the mix because they have two phenomenal players as well, and Kawhi Leonard. So it's gonna be interesting. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting when sports come back. How everything plays out, like how the baseball season plays out, how they finish the NBA, how they finish hockey, NHL,
how they start MLB.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like what do they do? Do they just do half the season? I mean, the good thing about baseball is they have 162 games, right? You have 162 games.
They could start it a third of the way.
Exactly. They could even start. They only do half the season. You're still making a ton of money for those organizations. So, yeah, it's gonna be fun. I can't wait for baseball to be back. I'm really excited.
Can't wait. God,
I
Petco Park has got to be like one of the most fun buildings in America.
It's. So I've been to, I think, 13 stadiums, and that's baseball stadiums just. Hands down, the best concessions you'll go to at any stadium. Yeah. They have the best food, the best beer selection. Like, it's
everything.
Crazy. Yeah.
Like, I'm not even a baseball fan, but I've become a baseball game fan.
Right.
Just because of Petco Park.
Exactly.
I probably go there at least 6 times a year.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah. It's amazing. So, yeah. I'm excited for my kids' sports to be back. Like my oldest, he got pulled up into like the older division in baseball, and he was,
socking dingers.
Yeah, he's socking dingers, man. My little guy now he's got pulled up into another older division as well, and so both playing really well and growing as athletes. That's really fun to watch. Kids grow as athletes and see when that little light switch clicks and they start to really want it and want to win and want to be great. And it's cool to watch. And I'm having a lot of fun being dad and not coach so much. Because basically like the first few years, you're definitely going to coach your kids in sports. Well, if you want to, but they've gotten to, now they're in travel leagues and the coach, they're moving past dad's level of expertise. And so other coaches are out there. And so it's good to just be dad, and like that's it.
Now that they're off the tee.
Yeah. Once they got best t-ball, right? Like no longer.
Be a dad.
I'll just be a dad now. I'll just be a fan. I'll just wear the team's hat.
Yeah, right.
I'll have a sign. Go Jackson, go.
Getting fights with the other team dads.
Exactly.
Oh, this is America.
Exactly. So, well, I think that's a good spot to end it. It's been a good talk. Thanks for coming on. First episode in the books.